One of the largely untold stories of the G20 are the events that took place in the community of Parkdale, just west of downtown Toronto. Parkdale played host to the Convergence Centre, where those coming to protest the G20 could meet, eat food, and sleep. In the early afternoon of Sunday the 27th, the Toronto Community Mobilization Network held a press conference. This followed the previous afternoon's smashing of corporate storefronts, banks, and burning of police cars. But the conference organizers were there to talk about the police actions against people, which at that point had included a series of violent mass arrests, home raids of activists, accusations of illegal searches, and assaults. While the event wrapped up, word arrived that just a few blocks to the east, the police were surrounding the Convergence Centre. When we arrived, they had sealed the area around the building and detained a small group. People from the community gathered around to see what was going on.
Opinion, arrest me too!
Yeah! We have opinions! Arrest us!
Like bubbles.
I do. I think it makes people smile. My name is a mystery.
Oh?
No, I have nothing to hide.
If the bubble touches me, I'm going to be arrested for assault. Do you understand me?
Bubbles.
Yes, that's right. It's a deliberate act on your behalf. I'm going to arrest you. Do you understand me?
I understand.
Right, you're going to be in handcuffs. All right? You either knock it off with the bubble. You touch me with that bubble, you're going into custody. Right?
I'm putting it away.
Right, thank you.
But I would also like to know.
You want to bait the police. You blow that on me or that other officer and it gets in her eyes. It's a detergent. You'll be going into custody.
I understand.
Do we understand each other?
I do. I would
And put it away.
I am doing that at this moment.
Right.
I would really appreciate
Discussion's
it
over.
if you could treat me with a bit of respect.
I just did. I just did. You got what you deserve. You got my respect. Right?
I don't feel very respected. I'm just
That's terrible.
trying to keep you happy.
My heart bleeds.
Mine too.
Right?
I'm here.
Put it away.
With that.
Right. Knock it off.
For $1 billion, they could have got someone with a better attitude.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
She hasn't done anything, and you can talk to her in a very polite way.
I was
try
trying.
it.
It's called professional.
Excuse me?
The incident gave rise to a popular series of parody animations on YouTube that depict Officer Bubbles in a series of situations arresting people at will for made-up infractions of non-existent laws, evidently intended to satirize the original bubble-blowing incident. Now, Officer Bubbles has launched a lawsuit against YouTube users to sue them for comments and videos because, according to his lawyer, the free speech of anonymous commenters on YouTube was inciting death threats and threats of violence against Officer Bubbles. The lawsuit also attempts to compel YouTube to reveal the actual personally identifying information of the users who are anonymous and have been identified in the lawsuit by their YouTube handles. One of the people named in the suit, a YouTube user known as Pussy McFats, but who has publicly revealed himself to be Todd Mara, a married father of 2 from Hamilton, Ontario, wrote a comment on one of the Officer Bubbles videos, quote, "Officer Bubbles probably looks at himself in the mirror a lot," end quote. It's unclear exactly how this could be perceived as inciting anyone to violence or how bringing a lawsuit against someone making such a comment disproves the observation in any way. In fact, Murrah was quoted this week in the Toronto Star as saying, quote, "I'm a compassionate person. I don't think he should be ridiculed forever because of this. I was done with this in June. I left my comment and never thought about it again," end quote.
Somebody from the community who knows that I'm a lawyer said, "You're the lawyer, you've got to get down there, there's somebody who needs you." So I came, I immediately identified myself to one of the many police officers, and he came back to me after about 20 minutes and said that the person did not want to exercise his right to counsel, despite what I had heard from at least 2 other people.
Then police began to encircle the crowd and put some onlookers under arrest.
I knew that this was a situation very much in flux, so I stayed put where the police officer had told me to stand. I think that following their advice was the best thing to do in that circumstance. Turns out I was wrong.
That's when the lawyer who came to provide counsel to the detained was herself detained.
A large police officer grabbed me by the arm and shoved me into what later turned out to be the kettling area.
I'm just walking by and he started hitting me. They locked us in here.
The police started pulling people out, saying things like, you've got a number on your arm, you're under arrest. You've got a bandana around your neck, you're under arrest. Backpack, under arrest.
What is this?
Obstruct. Obstruct.
Ow!
She's good because
Why obstruct
we got conspiracy to commit mischief.
Media, behind the lane, please.
They were pulling people out at random, just giving those very simple yet clear yet illegal reasons. And I actually saw a police officer put a young girl, she must have been about 18 or 20 years old, into a chokehold. It picked her up so her legs were dangling off the ground, and while she was screaming, he said, "You're under arrest for having a number on your arm," and he pulled her away. The real irony is that we told people to do this so that they could have access to counsel, and it turned out that people were actually being arrested for having those numbers on their arms.
Over the next few hours, many community members gathered to denounce the police actions.
Where's your warrants? Where's your arrest warrants?
There's a lot of people being trapped by police who were trying to leave a situation. That's what I see. And that's kind of crazy. And they're arresting people who are doing absolutely nothing.
Parkdale!
We don't want this in Parkdale. We don't want an occupation in Parkdale.
But we'd just like to know what's going on. It's our neighborhood.
For the entirety of the operation, neither the media, those detained, nor concerned community members were told what was going on.
To be there in the middle of my neighborhood, surrounded by a few hundred police officers, is something that I never thought would happen to me in my life. My father was a police officer. I've grown up with them. I don't even have the typical criminal defense lawyer mistrust of the police. If anything, I have to be careful not to give them the benefit of the doubt too often. But this was the first time in my life that I have been so afraid of the police.
Some people were told they were suspects in the previous day's broken windows and burnt police cars.
I was just getting on my bike to leave, and they said that somebody over there pointed at me and said that I was part of yesterday's fires. And then they went to go get him and apparently couldn't find him, and then said that I can go.
They eventually told the bulk group of us that we would be allowed to leave as long as we provided identification to the officers and as long as we allowed searches of our bags. Huge breaches of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms that I could go on about for hours.
After arresting roughly 20 people, the police left the neighborhood. The Real News spoke to some of those who had been detained.
They thought we were passing a weapon. One of the police officers dragged me to the side. I turned around to face him, to talk to him, and he instead grabbed my other arm, spun me around, kneed me in the ass, and then threw me on the ground and dragged me. Then he grabbed me and put me against a car. So a woman came up. She started searching me. She just lifted up my top in front of everybody, my bra and all. She didn't care who was looking. She didn't care if I was being exposed. She told me I was a baby. What these two cops did to me was like completely outrageous. Like
in my case, my real beef was the way I was treated, mostly. First of all, the fact that I was being detained without doing anything, without breaking any law. And secondly, because I was made fun of. That was the part that was also insulting, personally. They made fun of my nose. One of them told me I have a banana on my face. And another guy said that my nose is going to have a hard time handling what's going on. And I don't know if this was a reference to my, hooked nose or something, but that's what happened.
It's a very small little community. So I think that when people were walking past, the shock of seeing the police officers in our little community was huge. And I think that's what really got people saying, get out of our neighborhood.